Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
The third pillar around making sure that we are expediting the export of our American AI stack. That is really core to our mission at Armada.
Well, what I really like about the AI action plan is I actually believe it's quite actionable.
That's just what a few of the AI leaders had to say yesterday in Washington about President Trump's AI action plan. Here with more in the administration's AI rollout is one of the people that helped write that policy in that document, Sriram Krishnan, White House Senior Policy Advisor for AI, together here in person in Washington, D.C. There was a point towards the end of that sequence of comments about exporting the American technology stack. Exporting chips in particular. Your colleagues in the cabinet, Mr. Lutnick, for example, talked about this at length on stage. Are we going to get a set of rules, and how will we decide the volume and specificity of the types of chips that we can sell, particularly into China?
Thank you, Ed, for having me here. I think we're going to work on that. I think if you look at the executive order that President Trump signed, which is about America setting the standard, what you're going to see is we're going to work closely with our friends in commerce, especially in BIS, and what we're going to figure out is what those policies are going to be. But the meta point here is President Trump was very clear. We need America to set the standard for how AI is being used globally, from chips to models, to every part of the stack. And what we have seen over the last 6 months, be it with Huawei on the chip side, or be it with models like DeepSeek, we have competition. And yesterday's plan sets a very clear note that we need to be making sure that our standards exist worldwide.
I read all 23 pages as many times as I could.
28, I think.
23 on the version I have, but we can agree to disagree. There's a heavy emphasis on deregulation and permitting. That we get for the onshoring component. Mm-hmm. For exporting American AI, what is it tangibly? What action will be taken to open that up, be it on the software end or the hardware end of the stack?
Yes, so if you look, President Trump signed 3 executive orders yesterday, and one of them deals exactly with this. And what we're going to do is we're going to work with industry to come up with a gold standard for what the American stack should be. And there's going to be a process and how we figure this out. And then we're going to try and make sure that when we work with our partners and our allied countries, that they are using our stack instead of the competitions.
Sriram, many would look at the $4.2 trillion market capitalization of Nvidia and wonder, does it need any more help in exporting its tech stack right now? How much more support does an AMD or an Nvidia need, do you think?
Well, the way we look at it is we want America to win. We want American GPUs and American models to be used. And Nvidia and AMD happen to be great American companies along with many, many others. And so our job is to create the playing field where Jensen, or I saw Dr. Lisa Su earlier, can go sell their products worldwide.
Let's talk about that team, because there were some absences, let's say it. We would think that Intel would be a company about to report on its earnings that would be integral to manufacturing here in the US. TSMC from abroad coming in and putting money to work here in the United States as well. What do we interpret by those who weren't in the room?
I'm not sure I would read too much into that. I think if you look at yesterday's event, it was amazingly well attended. We had industry leaders from across the stack, from the semiconductor space to energy, to AI models, to AI applications. And as you said, we really want American semiconductor industry to win. And you saw yesterday's event being extremely well represented when it came to that.
You have advised the president and collectively as a group looked at policy, but there was a moment that we have to address yesterday where the president, after making various people stand up, said that he had looked at breaking up Nvidia, but then came to understand how crucial they were to the American technology stack, and that his aides had basically said to him, Jensen's great, Can I ask you, did you ever discuss with the president the idea of breaking up Nvidia and why that was included in his speech?
No, I wasn't in that meeting with the president, but I think what the president was referring to is that Nvidia has just done a phenomenal job in building products and applications and GPUs that the world is using, and that they're so ahead of the curve. So if you listen to the second part of what the president said, he talked about how it's going to take several years for people to catch up with them. And I think that's kind of one of the pieces that's put America in this pole position when it comes to the GPUs that everybody in the world wants to get access to.
We appreciate the clarity, Sriram. Open source, very prominent, very high up in the AI action plan. Why? That's something you're particularly focused on as well.
Yes, and this is an issue near and dear to my heart. And this is something which I think the Biden administration got totally wrong, where they tried to basically scare people about open source. We believe that open source is an integral part of innovation, of how academic research is done, how you get little tech to innovate quickly and be on a level playing field. And we think America should win. And the first day when I took this job, we had DeepSeek come out and really it send a signal that America wasn't actually leading in open source at the time. And we believe that needs to be rectified. And that's why in the action plan, we send a very strong signal that open source or open weights, America is going to have a leadership position.
Another thing near and dear to your heart is pro wrestling, Sriram. And it feels like we're in a wrestling match between China and the US. And I'm really interested as to how you navigate the rules of that wrestling match. For example, China gives us rare earth metal access. In return, we give them some H20s. But how does Nvidia navigate if China stops and chokes that? Will they have to be limited in H20? How do they get certainty in this environment?
Well, first of all, if you're talking pro wrestling, let's be clear. We are the face. We are the baby face who's going to ultimately go over for all of you pro wrestling fans. But look, the way we think about it is we want the American tech stack to win. One of the metrics I talk about is every token that is inferenced worldwide, we want it to be on an American GPU or using an American model, how many of our quadrillion tokens there are. And when it comes to the H20, I think the way we think about it is we would much rather have Nvidia or AMD be the GPU of choice rather using Huawei or somebody else's. And that's how we see it.
Nvidia is a baby face. As a fan favorite, I love it. Sriram Krishnan, it's been great having time with you. Thank you. White House Senior Policy Advisor for AI.